What's up, Mi40 University? Ben Pakulski here with another issue of body part execution specialization. I'm going to teach you guys about some calves. I tend to know a little thing or two about calves. So we're going to start off with some calf training today, and I want to really drive home the teaching points when it comes to calves. So there's a few little things. It's all about in the intricate details, right? If you want to bring up a weak body part, if something gets big naturally and strong naturally, then don't worry about it. Train it however you train it. Don't worry about optimizing your execution. If it's a weak body part for you, then you got to be really paying attention to the details. That just makes logical sense, right? If it's something like a lot of people lack on calves, a lot of people lack on certain body parts, I'm going to teach you the little intricacies of exercise that need to be adhered to really bring up that weak body part. So when it comes to calf training, I trained calves with somebody a couple of days ago and tried to teach them how to move. And they were so concerned with trying to keep up with the amount of weight that I was using that their form went out the window. And that's probably the last thing in the world you want to be doing when it comes to bringing up a weak body part. So the really easy thing to understand is when it comes to an evolutionary standpoint of exercise or an evolutionary standpoint of movement, your body is always trying to deliberately distribute the weight as evenly as possible. So if you have a strong body part, your body's going to put a greater percentage of load into that body part. If you have a weaker body part, your body's going to put a lower percentage of load into that body part. So wherever your body tends to naturally put tension will naturally develop greater muscularity. So if you have something that's naturally weak, you have to be really conscious and particular about the way you execute that. It's really logical, it's really simple, right? So I have to make sure that I'm putting as much tension through that muscle as possible and not allowing my body to do what it naturally wants to do, and that's put tension through its strengths, because we're trying to develop the weaknesses. So when it comes to calves, everyone has a natural tendency to rotate to the outside of their feet. So what you're doing with that is you're decreasing the range of motion massively, and you're also shifting the attention from what should be on the ankle extensors, the ankle plantar flexors, onto the feet, which tend to be a lot of really small muscle groups, and the weight gets evenly distributed. So you get a lot of people who train their calves, and they say, my feet get really pumped, but I don't really get a good calf pump. And that's the reason. So you need to pay particularly close attention, and this is why every exercise that I prescribe, I usually will have a 3-week primer included. And what a primer is, the idea behind the primer programming is it's 3 to 6 weeks of teaching your body how to move. So teaching your body how to appropriately execute each exercise specifically so your body can learn it. Your nervous system and your brain remember movement patterns. So the way you do something now is stored in your brain. So if I ask you to throw a ball, I'm left-handed. If I throw a ball, I don't think about it. It just happens naturally because my brain and my nervous system have it stored as a pattern. And if I want to learn how to throw with my opposite hand, you have to relearn it. It's going to take time. It's possible, but it may take time. And some people it may take 3 weeks, some people it may take 3 months, but it's going to take time to learn how to do things specifically. So it's really important at the beginning that you guys learn to execute optimally with minimal weight and control. So control is the currency for growth. So if you don't execute with control, you're wasting your time. So take some time, and most people are always so concerned with having to build muscle right now. Well, I'll tell you a secret. Building muscle is an ongoing process. It's not going to happen right now. So if today's workout isn't record-breaking, you're not setting a new PR every day, there still needs to be a goal. So the goal of today's workout for you, if it's a weak body part, is improving execution. That's it. So let's do it as often as possible. If you're doing a weak body part, I suggest doing it every other day, and it doesn't need to be to failure. It just needs to be practicing physical rehearsal. It needs to be rehearsing that movement. One thing that most people don't even consider is the neck and back pad and the back support. And so when you're doing anything, whether it be a leg press or a calf press, you want to have something to shove into, right? If I'm looking for optimal output in that direction, I want to be able to have shove in the equal and opposite direction. So by having this thing really slanted back, you're actually going to lose the ability to generate force. So when I'm doing calves and leg press most of the time, I'll actually put this thing all the way up. So it's really high. So it almost gives me like a perpendicular pad to shove into. So I'm going to jump in here and show you guys what that means. So now that I'm really sitting upright, this pad is perpendicular to this one, and my body fits right in the middle. So I'm trying to be able to shove that way and give me a large opportunity to push against it. All right, so the first thing, and this is probably the biggest disconnect with people, when I tell people to stretch their calves, most people have no idea how to do that. What they're basically going to do is allow the weight to shove them down into a position that feels like a stretch, but you're not actually getting a tremendous amount of ankle flexion. So what I want you guys to think about doing is contracting your tibialis anterior at the front. So you'll see mine are slightly contracted right there. There's a slight bend in my knees that stays pretty consistent I drive out. And here's the next disconnect, is people don't push far enough. And if I tell people to push a little bit farther, it gets a massive contraction, and it's hard no matter what weight you're using. So contract your tib at the bottom, push out all the way through. When you think you've gone far enough, I want you to push further. So in most instances, there's about an extra 3 inches that you're not using appropriately. So tibialis, push through the balls of the feet. Notice I'm not pushing on the outside of my feet, pushing through the balls of my feet, and push, 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 push. Ah, that last little inch right there is the most important thing you're going to do in this execution today. So that last inch. So no matter what the weight is, you see I'm still grimacing and there's very minimal weight on here. Contract the tib, because it's hard to get that muscle that short. And if you're not ever doing it, like with every exercise, the muscle isn't getting fully short and it's not getting fully contracted. You're not getting those last few muscle fibers. All right, I almost want you to think about executing this like a ballerina would, right? You see a ballerina going way up on the tip of her toe, and you really need to push for that. You're still gonna get that flexion at your big toe, but you really gotta try to stretch and push like really till you're getting right onto the tip of your toe. So you're getting full foot flexion and full plantar flexion. At the bottom of the rep, when this is contracted, everybody try that at home. When this is contracted, that's literally as far as my foot can go. So why wouldn't I try to be contracting this part, right? When we know we have an appropriate range of motion when the antagonist is contracted. So focus on contracting the antagonist, stopping, initiating with the calves. So contract the calves, push through the calf, and get all the way to that tip of that toe. And that's all you really need to think about when you're training your calves for optimal growth. Ben Pakulski, Mi40 University, coming back at you with another body part.